You may have made it through the first round of the fantasy playoffs, but that doesn't mean that your team is unstoppable. If you snuck out a W, even with a few underperformers in your lineup, and are now questioning your confidence in them moving forward, you've come to the right place. My name is Jorden Hill, and today we'll be discussing 6 players that nearly cost you your shot at a fantasy championship, and I'll give my take on their outlook for Week 16. We'll dive right in, but first, please be sure to leave a like on the video and drop a comment down below with the names of any players that have you panicking. Last Thursday night's contest was a brutal showing for both the Chargers and fantasy managers, as it seemed that Austin Ekeler would be the only viable fantasy option with Easton Stick at quarterback. Ekeler has not looked like himself for much of the second half of the season, but he showed signs of life in Week 14, which made it all the more surprising that he served as a complimentary back to Isaiah Spiller against the Raiders. With Brandon Staley out of town, there's no indication of how this backfield will operate this week, but we do know that LA's offense is a mess right now. In Week 16, they'll have to take on the Buffalo Bills, who just shut down the scorching hot Cowboys last week. He'll be hard to replace, but I would definitely find another option than Ekeler on Saturday. Week 15 was nothing short of a nightmare for Bijan Robinson managers. The rookie was given just 8 touches, and he lost a fumble on one of them. His 14 total yards were extremely disappointing, especially because they came against Carolina's porous run defense. Simply put, Robinson did not play well, but it's hard not to question head coach Arthur Smith when Cordarrelle Patterson is getting opportunities near the goal line. The good news is that Atlanta lost to the 2-12 Panthers, so they should be switching up their game plan heading into a Week 16 matchup against the Colts. Smith said that a decision hasn't been made about a quarterback, but I don't think it matters whether Desmond Ridder or Taylor Heineke gets the start. Indianapolis gives up a ton of production to fantasy running backs, so I'd still be starting Bijan and hoping for a big bounce back. The last running back we'll mention is Javonte Williams, who has flashed at times this season, but all in all has been pretty underwhelming. He turned in his worst fully healthy performance of the campaign last week, as he ran for just 27 yards and lost 7 yards on his 2 receptions. I'm not declaring Williams a must-bench, but I wouldn't feel confident starting him against the Patriots this week. New England has been incredibly stout against the run recently, and Williams really hasn't displayed a ton of upside. I think he's a middling flex play at best in the semifinals. Sometimes it's difficult not to fall for a revenge game narrative, but it really seemed like DeAndre Hopkins was destined for success against the Texans last week. Unfortunately, the 5-time Pro Bowler finished with just 2 receptions for 21 yards on 9 targets in a shocking loss. Will Levis sprained his ankle at the tail end of this one, so you'll want to monitor his status throughout the week. That said, I think D-Hop is in play for Week 16 no matter what. The Titans will face the Seahawks, who have surrendered the 6th most fantasy points to receivers in 2023. I'd have a good bit of confidence in Hopkins if Levis can suit up, but I'd still be okay rolling him out as a flex option even with Ryan Tannehill. The Jets looked surprisingly good on offense in Week 14, but regressed terribly against the Dolphins. Zach Wilson suffered a concussion, Breece Hall ran for just 12 yards, and Garrett Wilson managed 29 yards on 3 receptions. Wilson has an excellent matchup against the Commanders this week, but I don't think fantasy managers can possibly feel good about starting him if Trevor Siemian remains under center. It seems unlikely that Aaron Rodgers returns now that New York has been eliminated from playoff contention, so we'll have to wait until next season to see this duo's potential. For now, Wilson is just a wide receiver 3 or flex option if and only if Zach Wilson clears concussion protocol. It's been an amazing year for rookie tight ends, and Dalton Kincaid is a big reason why. He shined from Week 7 through 12 with Dawson Knox sidelined, but he was really quiet in Week 14 and gave fantasy managers a goose egg in the first round of the playoffs. The concern here is that Kincaid played on just 49% of snaps, and that's a season low. It was the James Cook show against the Cowboys, and Knox was on the field more in run-blocking situations. You can take a shot on Kincaid in Week 16 against the Chargers, who have been vulnerable to fantasy tight ends, but all signs are pointing to a possible blowout, so I'm not sure how much Josh Allen will need to sling it. If you have the option to pivot to someone like Isaiah Likely or Cole Kmet, I would strongly suggest doing so. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please remember to subscribe to RotoBaller for more fantasy football analysis that'll power you through the rest of the playoffs and help you win big in 2023. Thanks so much for tuning in, and best of luck in Week 16.